This is a podcast about one woman's mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners write better business books. Each week, we tackle your writing excuses, because there are excuses too, and help you beat the blank page of doom so that you can write the book that'll grow your life and your business. Now here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the 1000 Authors Show. I'm Vicky Quinn Fraser, and this week Joe's taking the week off so that I can talk to Emma Dhesi, who is a fellow book coach, but she's a fiction coach. So if you are a regular listener to the podcast and you've always harbored a hankering to write a fiction novel, then you're really going to enjoy this episode. Emma is fantastic. She's a fabulous person. She's a fabulous coach, and she's got a lot of really great and valuable things to say about fiction, structuring scenes, and making time to write. And we have a really good chat about that kind of thing. So I met Emma when she reached out to me to invite me to be part of her author summit, which was so cool. And I was really delighted and excited to be invited to do that. And it was a fantastic experience. And there's a link at the end of this podcast if you want to find out more about how you can get hold of all of those incredible interviews that Emma's put together. But yeah, we talk about all things fiction, a little bit of non-fiction, and some stuff that's relevant to everybody. So sit back and enjoy. Emma, thank you so much. I would like to introduce my podcast listeners to the fabulous Emma Dhesi, who I have got to know over the last few weeks because of her writing showcase that she's been putting on. So Emma, tell us a bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about that, and then I've got questions for you.
Okay, cool. Well, lovely. Thanks for inviting me on, Vicky. It's lovely to be here. So I'm Emma. I'm a fiction writer myself. So I write predominantly women's fiction, contemporary women's fiction, writing my first thriller, which is a whole new ball game for me, but very exciting. But as well as that, or more importantly for your listeners, is I'm also a book coach. And so I work with first-time writers, first-time novelists who have been battling away with that first manuscript, and really kind of not managing to get to the finish line. And so I specialize in working with them and helping them master those time issues, a lot of mindset issues, but also looking at just the craft. How do you put a good story together so that it's your story, so it feels like you and it's got your voice, but also kind of hits all those key scenes that are needed to make it run smoothly and keep your reader engaged. So that's what I do. And I guess how we met as well was 2 or 3 times a year I'll host an event, a free online event, where I invite lots of experts, writers, coaches, editors, publishers to come in and talk about a whole different range of subjects that relate to either writing the book itself or the writing life more generally. And Vicky was very kindly came on and chatted to us about why tiny stories matter. And I really resonated with a lot of people and helped a lot of memoir writers. I got great feedback on it. So those are my sort of main areas that I work in, and it's great fun.
Yeah, it is. The summit that you put on was incredible. It's such a good idea, and it's such a generous thing to do as well. And it was fabulous. Like the quality of guests and experts that you had on was I was blown away by it. And I'm really I haven't managed to watch them all yet, but I'm really looking forward to digging into the rest of them, because one day I'm going to write that novel. But I am a non-fiction writer, which is why I was so excited to have you on the show, because you are you're a novelist. So how did you? I'm going to ask you some questions that we talked about. But how did you get into writing fiction in the first place?
So I've always wanted to write. I think like a lot of novelists, actually, I think have always wanted to write a story, and got into reading and then subsequently writing at quite early ages. But like a lot of people, I took that very scenic route to get there. Went to uni, got a job, traveled, marriage, family, the whole shebang. In between all that, then dropping into writing courses here and there. I'm doing workshops, doing online courses, going to sort of evening classes, and little by little sort of adding to my repertoire, adding to my skill set. And I got to a certain age where I just said, right, this is ridiculous. You keep coming back to this, but you never finish anything. So either do this or walk away from it and do something else creative. So I thought, okay, right, I'm going to do it. And then the challenge that I gave myself was just finish a first draft. That's all you need to do. And then you'll go through the process and you'll know either you liked it and it was worth all the trouble and strife and you want to carry on, or you'll know it was horrible, it was an awful experience and you never want to do it again. And then and then you can move on. So I did that, and I finished that first draft, and I do say a lot that it changed my life. It really, really did. Not in that moment, obviously, but when I look back, I see it was the catalyst for so many other things. Yeah. So I finished that first draft, and then the next stage was, okay, work on the revisions, see how they go. Mm-hmm. Do you enjoy doing that? And then at the end, if I felt that it was a good enough story, then I could put it out into the world. And so it was a slow build, a slow process, but I didn't publish till I was in my 40s. So I think I'm a good example that we can do it at any age. It's because I don't know about you, but I've had emails from people saying, I'm 32 and am I too old? It's like, whoa, no, not at all. You can definitely be right.
It's so funny when you get messages like that. Part of me is like, fuck you. And part of me is like, of course you're not too old, for goodness sake. It's like they're all those 20 under 20 lists, 30 under 30. I'm more interested in the 60 over 60 lists, that kind of thing. It's much more exciting to me.
Oh, there's much more life there. There's more experiences. There's more to kind of share and bring to the page when you've got a bit of life behind you.
Yeah, and this obsession with youth that our culture has is not healthy. It's like young people are great, so are old people. Like all people are great.
Yeah. And I think also it's just kind of feeding into that as well. I think it was something that you said in our conversation about how it's these small, tiny stories that are personal and about the sort of average, ordinary person that, we're expected now to be able to, everybody can change the world. Everybody can leave their mark and be this amazing game changer. And so, well, not everybody wants that. We just want to have our own little corner, and that's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely. Okay, so I am very excited to ask you my next question, because I know it's something that a lot of people are going to struggle with, and I'm sure you struggled with it yourself, being like a mom and a working person and all of the rest of it. So how do you find time to write? Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I know that's like one of the number one things that I get from people is, I would love to write a book, but I just haven't got time. When am I going to do it? And I think people think they need this massive, cabin in the woods and nobody around. So how do you find time? How do you work with people to help them write?
The answer is horribly boring, and it really is just to schedule in that time, that just to put it in your diary. It's always amazes me that we schedule everything else in. So you know what time you're going to work, you know what time your kids are going to work, you know when you've got a dentist appointment, when you're going to the theatre, whatever it might be, you know when you're doing all these things and you put them in the diary. Or you do if you're someone like me, and if I don't do it, then it doesn't get done. And so really for writing as well, it's exactly the same thing, especially when you are new to it, especially when you're still building your routine, you're still building writing into your life. It's not yet part of your identity and who you are. It's not yet second nature to you to pick up your pen or switch on the keyboard and get writing. So when you're building that new way of being, then you do have to schedule it in. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It can be 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Just a nice slot that I can get something done, take some notes, maybe do some dictation, I know some people as well like to draw about what they're writing. So it might be some drawings, but equally it might be a snippet of dialogue or a snippet of description for your novel or your short story that you can put together. But the key thing is to schedule it in. And in fact, I did a training last night, and I was asking the audience there, what would you stop doing if you knew it would mean you'd finish your book by the end of the year? And the amount, people would say, stop watching TV. I would stop scrolling, cut down on social media, a lot of the usual things. And it's like, well, there is the answer, the solution to your problem is to not necessarily cut everything out, but certainly to cut down on it and be selective about it. So my own one is television. I love TV, and I love a good crime drama. I love a good documentary, and I'm not prepared to give those up. Those are one of my little joys in life. But I had to be selective about it and not just channel hop, but kind of know, okay, this is what I really enjoy. This is what I want to watch. So either I have to write around that, or the TV has to come around my writing. And I chose my writing so that, because that's the toughest one. It's the takes the most kind of head brain energy. So I need to put that in first, and then I can do all the other stuff around that. But it really is, looking at the week coming up ahead, all the key things that you're going to be doing that week. So pop them in the diary. And then put in, okay, I can have an hour here on a Saturday morning when the kids are at football or class, whatever it is they do. Or if your kids are grown, then maybe you have you're going to do a little bit, half an hour of writing before you go out into the garden to do some gardening, or whatever it might be. Look at where you can fit those gaps in, and fill the gap with the time that you have. So that's what the first step is, actually to put it in your diary. The second step is to honor that and ring fence that, and don't let it slip. You've got to be the one in control of your time, and you've got to be the one that says, this is important to me, I'm going to do it. So ring fence it, protect it, don't let anybody take it away from you. This is precious time, and you don't have a lot of spare time, so keep that precious.
I have a question for you off the back of that, actually, because I do wonder, and I know that this is true for me, and I know it's true for a lot of especially women that I work with, is this sense of guilt of having this time just for themselves and to write, because I should be doing, this, that, and the other. Like even this morning, I had a bit of a line this morning. I was like, I had to say to myself, you are allowed to rest. And it was, do you know what I mean? And so do you find that that's a thing as well with the people that you work with?
100%, yes. It's funny because it's one of those things that if it's not to do with friends or family, if it's not a social event, then people think we're really strange and they don't know why we want to do this. Why do you want to spend time in a room with fake, imaginary people? And so this feeling of guilt that it's not justified, that I've got housework to do, I've got kids to look after. It is an ongoing thing, and I think it's a slow and gradual move, and that once you take those first few steps, you begin to realize the kids don't care. They really, really don't. They are, as long as you are there, as long as you are happy and they feel safe and looked after and cared for, then they're happy for you to go into it. And they don't, there's no need for you to feel guilty for grabbing a few 15 minutes here and there. But it is a mindset shift, and it's not something that every parent can do straight away, but maybe kind of ease yourself into it. But that's certainly something that I've learned over the years, is that the children, they're curious at first when you first start shifting your kind of usual behavior, and they're curious about it and they want to know and they've got questions, and then they might start saying, no, come and spend time with me, because they get a bit jealous. Mm-hmm. But after a while they get used to it. It just becomes part of the norm and part of day-to-day life. And so now if I have a big cupboard, which I call an office, but when the door is shut, then they know that mummy's working and not to come in. It's the same, last year I started meditating every day, and this was something I hadn't done before. So when my bedroom door is shut, they have learned, I've had to train them to know that mummy's meditating, wait till she comes out before you ask a question. And invariably, when I come out, they've either forgotten the question, or we discover that it was something really simple that they didn't really want to know the answer to. They just wanted to check up on me and make sure I wasn't having fun without them. But I appreciate, yes, it can take a while to realize it for yourself, that the kids don't need you 100% of the time. I think this is a modern parenting thing that we've got.
Yeah, do you know what else is a modern thing, I think? And I wonder if you've encountered this as well, because I certainly have. This idea that everything we have to do should be in some way productive, which I think is a symbol of modern capitalism and all of the bullshit that goes with it. But it's like, we can do things just for creativity's sake. And I even more so for what you do, because it's fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. There is that feeling that we've got to be busy all the time. And I blame email for this. I think that as soon as email came into existence, just everything sped up, and we don't wait for anything. We want this gratification immediately. And I'm as guilty as anybody else. And I have to remind myself, it doesn't have to be like that. There was a time before email. It was okay. We all survived. But yeah, just taking time out, that idea of, they still have them, I'm sure, take a break, and these little magazines that you could buy that were designed to have short, sharp things to read for that 10-15 minutes of your coffee break. Yeah. And I think we have lost a little bit of that. And we have to remind ourselves, slow down, it's okay. So a friend of mine, Tracy, she put it very well. She said, we've got to give ourselves and our writing room to breathe and kind of just ease into it and not be rush all the time, but give it space to find itself. And I think about that quite often these days.
And that's fantastic. And that goes back again to what you were saying about, when you're finding these times and spaces to write and when you're scheduling your time. And you said something really interesting that I liked. It's like, it doesn't have to be writing, like writing isn't always writing. And so can you talk a little bit about like the other things that people might want to think about? It's like, I can't actually sit down with like pen and paper or a laptop. What else could be part of the writing process that they could fit in?
A lot of it feels like nothing. It feels like that kind of sort of daydreaming, and it is in a way, because if you're writing fiction, there's a lot of you're making up the majority of it. There's always elements that we take from real life and kind of mold and to shape our story, but the plot line itself, we don't know how we get from A to B to C. And so I'm working with a student at the moment, for example, and she is time pressed. She's having to do a bit of caring for her husband at the moment. And so when we were chatting last time, she's saying, I haven't written anything, but it's in my head. I'm thinking about it a lot. And so in those sort of down moments where you get a chance to just mull over and marinate the story idea in your head, and it's like being in the shower, that's when you get your best ideas, is when you've sort of switched your brain off and you're not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
So those are the times when you can be thinking about the plotline itself, but also the time that you can be thinking about the character, because that has a surprising amount of importance to the plotline as well, knowing how this fictional character has lived their life up until we meet them in the storyline. And so it's an opportunity just to kind of think about, well, what were their parents like? Did they go to school? Or what kind of world do they live in? So if you're writing fantasy, for example, this kind of, if you're sitting on the train, going from A to B, and you're thinking about the magic that might be in that world or the transport that might be in that world, that's all part and parcel of the writing process. I think, who was it? I did a training with somebody and they were saying that the actual writing, sitting down and writing, it's only about sort of 20% of the actual book writing process. The other 80 is all that marinating and mulling over and what if questions that we ask ourselves. So there's lots and lots and lots you can do. And even now, modern technology, you can use your phone, so you can take voice notes. So just, catch an idea in your head before you lose it. Or fear that you're going to lose it, or even use the notes section in your phone, and you can just quickly type something out to keep that fresh in your mind as well. But there's lots that can be done around actually sitting at a desk and writing or typing.
Yeah, I have a lot of really cryptic voice notes in my phone that I come back to, and I'm like, I don't really know what I meant by that, but I'm sure it was useful at the time.
And it kind of is, isn't it? Because there's a sort of psychological element to that if you write it down and keep it somewhere safe, you can almost forget about it then and not worry about that was the idea that you should have written down. And if you need to, because invariably we never go back to them, but that it's there if you want it.
Just in case, it's totally useful. Okay, so that leads me on really nicely, because you were talking about thinking about, character building and world building and plots and things. So, and I know that one of the things that you mentioned that you wanted to talk about was building scenes. And I thought that would be a really useful topic, not just for the fiction listeners, but also because we have scenes in creative nonfiction as well. A scene is a thing that's really important. So can you talk to us a bit about what a scene is and how you go about building one?
Mm-hmm. So a scene, it varies from person to person that you talk to, but I take it from my coach and his definition, which is that a scene is it's a place and time or a unit of time, and it's the same unit in the same place. If you move time or if you move location, then you're moving into a new scene. So it's what's happening in that one scene, that one moment of time in that one place. And every scene, I believe, has to have sort of 4 elements to it. The first is that it has to have an aim or a purpose. And this is, if you know the aim or the purpose of this, then you know that it warrants being in the story. If there's no aim to it, there's no purpose to it, then there's no need for it. So it doesn't need to be there.
kill that, darling.
Yeah, exactly. So once you've sort of established that, then there needs to be a problem. There needs to be that all-important conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And that is in pretty much, I think, every scene that we write, we need to have some level of obstacle, some level of conflict. It can be really small. You know, for example, maybe the aim of the scene is for somebody to make a sandwich, but the conflict is there's no butter or there's no filling or whatever it might be. So we need that problem. Your character then needs to respond in some way and make a decision about it. Okay, well, how am I going to resolve this problem? How am I going to get past this problem? How am I going to fix it? And then the fourth element is that the outcome. Okay, what do they actually do? What action do they take? Because we always need to have some kind of action. Your character wants to be proactive in the scene, driving the scene forward. If it's not a scene that has a specific piece of action, then you do want to use it as an opportunity to reveal something about your character. So it might take the story forward in that way, with the character arc. And then in an ideal world, what we want to do is be able to have both. We want to reveal something about the character and push the story forward on in some way.
So I was going to say, it sounds like a story like a complete story in miniature for each scene. And also it got me thinking about, I guess you can, if people have not written before and not written scenes before, they can look at what happens in movies and on TV, because a scene is a contained piece of story, right? It's like a...
Yeah. It's a good way to use it. I think we often look at, they look at blockbusters a lot. Die Hard is a film that is often used as a good example of storytelling. And in fact, I watched it again quite recently. And it's like, gosh, yeah, it is. It really does.
So great. I love that film.
Have all the elements that you need. Even Bruce Willis. Oh my goodness. But another one would be The Hunger Games. Again, you've got all these fantastic pockets of story within story, and each scene tells us something vital, either about Katniss or about the world that she's in and the story that is unfurling in front of her eyes. So yeah, next time you watch a movie, see if you can pick out, okay, you'll need to do it in retrospect a little bit. Okay, what was the point of that scene? What got in the way of them wanting to get what they wanted? And then what was the outcome? How did they all respond to what was happening? Yeah. Thinking about first-time novelists as well, though, that the idea of having that level of structure in a scene might seem pretty daunting and quite scary, because when you're writing your first one, you're just like, okay, I really don't know what I'm doing. I just know I want to write this story and get it down in any way I can. So the beauty of this scene structure is that you can use it as a revision tool as well, because often when we're writing our first novel in particular, and maybe it's the same in the work that you do, Vicky, but it's often comes from the heart. This is the story that's been burning in someone's heart for a long time, and it's a very emotional kind of cathartic experience, and there's not necessarily thought given to how it's being structured and things. It's just this moment of joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then this tool can be really great for coming back and revising with it and saying, and establishing, okay, why have I included this scene? What happened in it? How does it push my story along? And then sometimes reluctantly, we have to either take out a scene because it's not doing what we want it to do, or you get to reshape it. You get to remold it and rework it in revision so that it does then earn its place in the story, because it's important for you that we know about it. Yeah. So it's a great revision tool as well as a first drafting tool.
That sounds cool. And you know what? I actually like taking stuff out, because people love outtakes, right? And I always think that the things you take out, the scenes you take out, and this could work in fiction as well. It's like, put it into your book promotion. It's like, do you want to see some of the outtakes from this scene? It's like, here's some stuff that didn't make it in. And people love that kind of thing. So I love a good outtake.
They really do, don't they? And I'm the same. You want to know, okay, what happened behind the scenes? How did this happen? What went wrong? And what were the revelations that happened? Yeah, people love it, absolutely love it. And some photographs as well, even of those, particularly if you handwrite and everything's scored out and crossed out, it gives people hope that their messy notebooks can make the cut as well.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, this has been brilliant, Emma. We're running out of time, which makes me sad, but I'm definitely going to get you back at some point, because there are so many other things to talk about. But it's really great having another book coach on as well, because like, people listen to me and I just think it's just good to have another perspective, and also, for them to be able to go, oh, actually, yeah, this does make sense. Oh, maybe I do just have to make the time to write. It's like, afraid so. That's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
But can you tell us where we can, if somebody's writing their first novel and they need help, how can they get your help? Where can they find out more about you?
The best place to start is my website, which is emmadhesi.com. And there, it's a pretty basic website, but you'll get all the information you need. So it'll link you through to my podcast, which comes out every week. And the other place that I'm most active, which isn't for everybody, is Facebook. That's the only social media I use. I have a Facebook group there called Turning Readers into Writers. And that's where we have a fantastic community now of people who are at the same stage, writing their first book, looking for help, looking for advice. And so a lot of people share what's on their mind. You'll find some great tactical advice. You'll get some good tech advice there. And I'm in there regularly as well, doing Facebook Lives and answering questions and giving you things to think about as well, prompting you with things as well. So those are the main places that you'll find me.
Awesome. So that's emmadhesi.com and your Facebook group, which is Turning Readers into Writers. And I can testify that is a great group. I'm not a Facebook person, but I have been in there a few times, and it looks like such a fantastic community of people with so many useful pieces of information and just support. So I can thoroughly recommend, if you're a Facebook person, go and find Emma's Facebook group. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Emma, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a real pleasure. Like I say, it's great to talk to a fellow book coach. It's great to talk to a fiction expert as well. Maybe you want to write a story that is maybe a little bit more fictional than factual. So watch this space. And thank you so much again. This has been great. And thank you as well for the opportunity to be part of your Writers Summit. It was really incredible. I really, really enjoyed it. And I don't know, can people still get hold of that in any way?
Yes, they can. I'll give you a link, but yes, people can certainly sign up for it. I have a VIP kind of access, lifetime access ticket available. There is a small charge for that, but it's minimal, but it'll give you lifetime access to all of those amazing interviews. Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you that.
I thoroughly recommend it because it's not very expensive at all for the amount of value that you get. And I can't remember how much you said it was. Can you tell the listeners?
Yeah, it's in US dollars. It's $37 US, which is what, about 25 quid?
About 25 quid. It's an absolute bargain. And, I cannot recommend it enough. Honestly, it was, if you want to hear me blathering on about tiny stories, then you can go and do that. It's obviously my passion, but there are so many other amazing speakers in that summit. So yeah, go and find out. But yeah, Emma's going to give me a link so you can have a look. The link will be in the show notes. The link to Emma's website and her Facebook group are also going to be in the show notes. So go and check her out. It just leaves me to say thanks again, Emma. It's been brilliant.
Oh, thank you, Vicky. I've really enjoyed our chat.
So I hope you enjoyed listening to my interview with Emma as much as I enjoyed interviewing her. I'm definitely going to get Emma back at some point because we only managed to cover 2 topics there and I have so many more questions for her. And at some point I'm going to start writing some fiction myself. So when I do that, I'll definitely get her back. But yeah, go check out Emma's website. Check out what she's got on offer and definitely take advantage of the incredible offer that she's got for getting hold of all of the author summit interviews because they are so valuable. Obviously, mine's in there, but there are so many others. I think she's got 22 altogether. And I've already had some fantastic feedback from people who I pushed in that direction. They've come back and been like, oh, it's such a fantastic resource. It was so useful for non-fiction writers as well as fiction writers. So go and check out Emma, check out what she's doing, and I hope you enjoy what you find. And in other news, if you are thinking of writing anything, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, I am hosting my universe famous Write Night again on February the 24th, Thursday, February the 24th at 7:30 p.m. UK time until midnight. And I am really excited about that. Really excited about doing another Write Night because everybody who comes to them has an incredible time. It's going to be the fifth Write Night, which seems I don't know how that's happened. It seems only yesterday that I was planning the first one. So come along. It's only £100 for 4 hours of structured writing time, no distractions, no guilt about spending time on something that is important to you, and in between I'm going to have some writing prompts, some creative writing tips, and you will meet the most incredible bunch of people that you have ever met in your life. That is an absolute guarantee. You can find out more about that at moxiebooks.co.uk/write night. I will be back same time next week. Joe will be back with me. Thank you as always to Podfly for editing this beautifully. Thank you to Harriet for keeping me in order. And thank you to you, dear listener, for tuning in every week and listening to the 1000 Authors Show. Without you, there wouldn't be much point in doing this. So have a fabulous week. Stay joyful, stay weird, stay kind, and I will see you soon.
Thanks for listening. You can find links and show notes on the website at moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast, where you can also sign up for the best daily emails in the multiverse and find loads of free resources to help you write your book. We'll be back the same time next week with more tales from the book writing trenches and the latest on what the tiny sheeps have been up to.